In the Lesson 2.3 example, Saving Manatees Choosing a Seat, we'll practice estimating correlation. For each of the following relationships, we'll want to find whether or not the correlation R is greater than 0 or less than 0, and then determine if it's closer to R equals 0 or closer to R equals positive or negative 1. In this lesson, we learned that the correlation R is a measure of the strength and direction of a linear relationship between two quantitative variables. For this particular example, we'll want to focus on the fact that if the points form a negative relationship or a negative pattern, then R is less than 0, whereas if the points form a positive relationship, then R is greater than 0. Also, if there's very little scatter from a linear form, then we can say that R is close to positive or negative 1, and that the more scattered the points are from linear form, the closer R is to 0. Manatees are large, gentle, slow-moving creatures found along the coast of Florida. Many manatees are injured or killed by boats. Here's a scatter plot that shows the relationship between the number of boats registered in Florida in thousands and the number of manatees killed by boats for the years 1977 to 2013. The first thing we notice with this scatter plot is that the points form a strong upward or positive trend. As the number of boats registered increases, so does the number of manatees killed. Because that relationship between boats and manatees killed is positive, we know that the correlation R is greater than 0. Also, notice the points aren't very scattered from that line. So we can say that R is closer to 1 than to 0 because the relationship is strong. There isn't much scatter from the linear pattern. To see if seat location affects test scores, a statistics teacher randomly assigned students to seat locations in his classroom for a particular chapter and then recorded the test score for each student at the end of the chapter. The explanatory variable in this experiment is which row the student was assigned, where row 1 is closest to the front and row 7 is farthest away. Here's a scatter plot showing the relationship between the row and the subsequent test score. Now in this case, the points form a slight downward trend. So because the relationship between row and score is slightly negative, we'll say that R is less than 0. Unlike the previous example, notice the points here are very scattered about the line. They're not really tightly packed around it. So we'll say that R is closer to 0 than negative 1 because this relationship is weak. There is a lot of scatter from the linear pattern. For some more practice estimating and interpreting correlation, try exercise 1.